was a kid, I would spend every summer in the Philippines. And every morning, my grandmother would wake me and my brother up super early to go eat breakfast at McDonald's. And at McDonald's, I was hooked onto the breakfast longanisa they served, which is sort of like a Filipino sweet sausage. But for my merienda or afternoon snack, my grandmother would order me 2 bowls of my beloved creamy macaroni soup. Obviously, I had an unhealthy appetite for McDonald's. Filipino eating habits seem to reflect this fast food style of eating excessive amounts of salt, sugar, and fat. So it's not really a big surprise when 3 of the 4 leading causes of death in the Philippines, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, are all related to poor nutrition. The Philippines lost 2.8 billion pesos in 2006 just because of poor nutrition. And just after 10 years, this economic loss doubled. But in other parts of the country and in the world, the problem isn't too much the poor quality of diets, but the lack of food. Hunger is at a critical stage in the world today. Before I was interested in this topic, I thought that, like so many others, that our first priority should just be to feed a child until they aren't hungry. I was wrong. If you look at the bigger picture of a child's life, you can see that it's extremely important to satisfy that child with a quality diet at the same time when addressing hunger. What do I mean by quality diets? I mean safe, diverse, nutritious foods all year round to feed and sustain brain power. Because nutrition has a direct link to brain development. The way you think, act, your eventual intelligence, this can all decrease due to poor nutrition early in childhood. And a child's long-term health is also impaired. When they are an adult, their health will decline earlier. So the lack of diverse, nutritious foods, undernutrition, is both a cause and consequence of poverty. Let me give you an example. Imagine a 5-year-old girl who lives in some remote farm in a developing country. She also might as well be living in a big city. Her family doesn't have enough food, much less an adequate diet. She will be cognitively impaired. She will not reach her full potential height. Therefore, she will not reach her full human potential. And when she grows up, her income and her harvest are limited because of these disadvantages she had earlier on in life. She will not be able to afford basic health care, and she will not be able to provide education and the proper nutritious diet for her children. So her children will also become cognitively impaired and stunted, and they will not reach their full human potential. The future of our world depends on these young girls and their children, and of those future generations. But malnutrition isn't one of those third world problems. It's here in the United States too. In one of the most developed countries in the world, our children are overfed and undernourished. 1 in 3 American children are overweight or obese. And overnutrition is just as bad as undernutrition. I could have easily been one of those overweight children the way I devoured and craved McDonald's as a child. Fortunately, I only visited the Philippines in the summer. For the rest of the year, I lived in Hanoi, Vietnam. And in Hanoi, there were no McDonald's. I was surrounded by working farms, and the Vietnamese culture emphasized a balance in living, including in their diet. Leaving Vietnam and moving to Vermont, I was further surrounded by this culture of healthy living. There are so many farms in Vermont, and in school, I was able to go to those farms, see how my food was grown, and learned how to prepare balanced meals. My teachers emphasized fresh, organic, local food in my diet. And just last October, I went to a conference in Iowa, and there I was able to meet amazing people who travel to these developing countries and work with their local communities, with the local communities in developing countries to help push this nutrition agenda. So I learned how to care about my food at this conference, right? But most of the people in the world don't know or don't care about what is needed by the body. And most don't even know where their next meal is coming from. What does the future of our world hold when 1/3 of the world population does not reach their full human potential? The Philippines alone lost about 5 billion pesos just because of poor nutrition. That's a lot of money. So I say our generation's mission statement is to solve hunger better. A nutrition-focused approach builds a generation capable of rising out of the cycle of poverty. It builds a smarter, stronger, and more stable workforce. So if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from my talk, it's this. A child needs food to survive, but requires a diverse, nutritious diet to thrive. Hunger and obesity both have one solution. Quality meals should be both available and consumed. So you might ask, what can I do to ensure this? Well, first, be conscious of what you eat. You may have heard this a million times, but your healthy choices can only bring you benefits. Second, look at what others in your community eat. Influence your family, friends, the person behind you in line at the cafeteria to choose more nutritious items. And third, do something about the rest of the world who doesn't have enough food. You can easily join multiple organizations and learn to care about the millions of children that go to bed hungry every single night. And finally, when you solve hunger, you solve it better. When you donate rice, beans, or some canned food, you are giving sustenance. But when you give them a quality meal, you are giving them opportunities and ultimately investing in the future of our world. Our generation can ensure that we leave our world in capable hands through better diets. Our mission is nutrition. Thank you.